is going to be presented here today exemplifies the goals of our program and our interest in the origin of life and life in the universe. I'd like to introduce Dr. Felisa Wolfe-Simon, the lead author on the paper, to fill us in on what she did and what she found.
Thanks, Mary. Well, as Mary probably knows, and as many of my colleagues would agree with, I'm always interested in exceptions to the rule. And what I'm going to talk about here today is not that much different than another exception to the rule. And so I've led a team that has discovered something that I've been thinking about for many years. And I've been thinking about an idea of substitutions. And what does it mean to be substitution? And what does it mean to be toxic? So I've led a team that has discovered a microbe that can substitute arsenic for phosphorus in its major biomolecules. But let me step back for a minute. All life that we know of requires carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. And it uses those 6 elements in some of the critical pieces I think we're all familiar with, including DNA and RNA, or the information technology of the cell, the proteins, which are the molecular machines, and the lipids, which separates you from everything else. And so we've discovered an organism that can substitute one element for another in these major biomolecules. So I want to put that in the context of the who, what, where, and how we did this, and give us a little bit about, in an astrobiological context, or life in a planetary context, of what this could mean to us on practical and also a bit more esoteric levels. I'd like to introduce to you today the bacterium GSAJ-1. These are not little potatoes. They are a microbe that scientists lovingly call little bugs, but they're not bugs. They're microbes.
We got one.
And this is a bacterium that, although looks ordinary, and this may look like a type of micrograph many of us may have seen in different places, but it's doing something extraordinary. And so we'll talk about that. But first, let's find out where this microbe is from. So we're looking at a map of Mono Lake, California. It's in Northern California, east of the Sierras, just outside of Yosemite National Park. It's a very interesting environment, and we're gonna take a look at that. If we could please roll that footage. Mono Lake is 3 times the salt of seawater. A pH is 10. It's basic, like bleach, and it's got very high levels of arsenic, and it's teeming with life. So the seemingly inhospitable environment teems with life, like bacteria and algae and brine shrimp, and is a major stopping point for migratory birds on their way through the United States. And we went to look for an interesting microbe, and we went to an unusual place. So let me tell you a little bit about how we did this. So if you want to look for an organism that can substitute one element for another, you might want to think about where that particular element is abundant. And Mono Lake is abundant in arsenic. But why would I come up with the idea of substituting arsenic for phosphorus? If we think about the periodic table, arsenic lies just below phosphorus on the periodic table, and so they actually have the physical size of arsenic and phosphorus is very similar. We call it the atomic radii, but it's the physical size of the atom. As far as we can tell, theirs are similar. And actually, the fact of this chemical similarity, and there's other things I'd be happy to discuss at length with folks, but that chemical similarity lends insight into something that arsenic is toxic because it looks like phosphorus. So your cells and my cells and microbial cells, they can't tell the difference. And that's very interesting to me as a biochemist. So I went to an environment to look for this particular.
All right, so she's starting to lose us, right? Is it just me? Do you no longer understand? Thankfully, we still have Corey Powell. So let's turn our sound down just so we can get Corey to explain what we've heard so far. And then we'll go, don't worry, we're monitoring it. You're not going to miss anything big. Plus, let's be honest, she didn't understand it either. But Corey did. And what the heck did she do? First of all, I think the real alert here, Corey, may be that NASA has a 14-year-old leading the search for extraterrestrial life.
I'm not going to utter the words Doogie Howser because I think that dates me. But yeah, but
she looks so young.
It's our children are our future. I believe that's the lesson I take from this.
Good for her. I mean, it's darn impressive. But what was she saying?
So scientists have, part of their job is to be cautious, and so she's being a little bit cautious in what she's found here. I mean, the immediate thing is she's describing it's a microbe that eats arsenic. I mean, and that's sort of interesting in itself. Arsenic obviously is one of the most toxic things in the environment to us, but here's a form of life that not only eats it, it needs it. So, I mean, that could be practically interesting because you can imagine actually using these microbes to, say, clean up toxic waste spills. But, it's at a deeper level, it's interesting because it says that life can use a different kind of chemistry. It can operate a different way than the life we know. She wasn't actually calling it alien life on Earth, but effectively that's what she's talking about. She's talking about that the kind of life that we are is not the only kind of possible life. We've actually found a different kind of life right here on Earth. That tells you a lot about the kind of life that's being out there elsewhere in the universe.
Wow. Well, I understand that much better than I understood when you started to talk about the periodic table of the elements, which is, like a junior year period for me that I completely blacked out. In any event, Corey, thank you for putting it in terms we can understand. And Corey's going to actually continue listening to this woman, Elisa Wolf-Simon, this impressive oceanographer, and bring us the headlines as he hears them in terms that even I can understand. Corey, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we go back now to the conversation.
Ladies, you are real rude. I know you heard me recording.
To vote on extending some of the Bush tax cuts